I'm going to do something unusual for a mediator right now. I'm going to talk you out of hiring me. Or at least I'm going to tell you clearly who should not use mediation, because the worst option is that folks use mediation who weren't right for the situation. So in this video, here's the honest list of who mediation isn't appropriate for, so you can make the right call, even if that means taking a different path. So there's 4 general situations where I would tell you, generally speaking, not to mediate. Again, not legal advice, just general information, educational purposes only, from my perspective as a mediator. Talk to your lawyer specifically if you want legal advice for you. I'm not your lawyer, just general information. First, active domestic violence or coercive control. Huge. Now, I want to be precise here because these terms get thrown around a lot and used kind of loosely in ways that matter. So let's define terms. Coercive control means one person in the relationship is using fear, isolation, financial control, threats to dominate the other. And when that's present, mediation is just ineffective. In fact, it's probably potentially harmful, because the fearful partner can't negotiate freely, because anything that they agree to in the room can't be considered voluntary. The structure of the mediation assumes, this is like a prerequisite, we have to have it, that 2 people roughly equal capacity to speak and be heard. And coercive control, like if you're worried about what's going to happen after mediation as a consequence of what you say in mediation, it eliminates that assumption. And so if this is your situation, a domestic violence advocate, an attorney, and possibly the court getting involved are right resources, because we need safety as a prerequisite to have a kind of mediation. Number 2, one spouse is committed to smiting, punishing, destroying the other person and wants to use mediation as a way to do that, and they're not at all interested in resolution, right? You can see why this wouldn't make sense. And this is, from my experience, rare, but it is real and it's worth naming. So some people enter the divorce process or mediation generally with the sole goal of making the other person suffer, financially, relationally, publicly. And there's not an agreement in the world that would satisfy that person unless it destroys the other. And that's not a negotiating partner. That's not good faith. That's not something that mediation can help or fix. Third, active, untreated is important, addiction, or serious mental health, which affects your current cognitive ability to function and process. So this isn't a history of addiction or a history of mental health issues. It's not past struggles. It's active, untreated, currently affecting your capacity to make and honor decisions. Okay, so that's, again, that mediation can't address that and work with those. Fourth and lastly are emergencies requiring sort of immediate court intervention, which is to say, like, if your spouse, as an example, is about to drain a bank account or liquidate just any assets generally, if there's a custody crisis happening right now, if you need an emergency protective order, like right now, you need the court's emergency powers, and mediation isn't an emergency tool for a whole host of reasons. Okay, so those are the 4 sort of, generally speaking. Now, let's talk about what doesn't disqualify, what mediation still works for. And this is sort of very much worth noting. Anger, even a lot of anger, even a history of conflict, even infidelity, even deep distrust, even deep disagreements on basically everything. Having an attorney still can mediate. Having been to court before still can mediate. None of these things disqualify you. So the bar for this disqualifies us for mediation, this is too much for mediation, is actually higher than most people think. So I say that not to sell you on a service, right? But because I've seen many people and talked to many people in consults who think that, oh, we're not quite amicable enough. And so they disqualify themselves from mediation when, in fact, they'd be great candidates. They would have a net, I think, and the data shows, less stressful, less expense, less cost, less time than if they were going the litigation route. Again, not everybody, just general information. Check it out. Free consultation, Flannel People mediation.com. My name's Ryan. I'm a mediator with Flannel People Mediation. Let's figure out if this is the right path for you. Thanks for watching. Please like if you liked. Please subscribe if you want more. Please share with a friend if you know someone who needs it. Bye.